Carolina Panthers, a team that was in the Super Bowl 3 years ago, and they were 6-2 last season, Chris Sims, before they ran into that buzzsaw in Pittsburgh and the wheels came off. By the way, this is Pro Football Talk Live, NBC Sports Radio, NBCSN. Hello to our friends in the UK enjoying the program on Sky Sports. We're getting right into it this hour with a look at the Carolina Panthers. We've looked at every team. No one gets short shrift, and it's last but not least. We still have one more to do later this hour, but we're getting them all in before Memorial Day. And the Panthers, a team that if Cam Newton is healthy, they can be very, very good. I remember when the odds first came out for the chances to win the division, and each division had its breakdown. The Panthers are an attractive choice to me because if Newton is healthy, Christian McCaffrey coming into his own, the defense is always going to be good with Ron Rivera there. It all hinges on the shoulder of Cam Newton, Chris.
Yeah, it definitely does, or at least that offense and some of the issues they have there. I mean, Carolina, at base value is a playoff caliber football team. The wheels fell off last year with that Pittsburgh Steelers game. Then they lost 2 games in subsequent weeks, with, remember the Detroit Lions game? Cam Newton misses the wide open 2-point conversion. They outplayed the Seattle Seahawks at home, and Russell Wilson made some magic late in the game to get them back in it and win a miracle football game, and everything fell apart out of the fact, like you said, that Cam Newton's shoulder issues were there and they couldn't throw the ball down the field. But the offensive line, I think the first thing you have to talk about with Carolina, because that's been the weak spot, I do think they've gone somewhere to correct that this offseason, by signing a Matt Paradis at center from the Denver Broncos, one of the better centers in football. That's going to be great. Re-signed Darrell Williams, who was a Pro Bowl type tackle. They're going to move him to guard. They got a guy, Taylor Moton, who was a second-round pick last year. He's going to be tackle. Got Greg Little this year in the second round from Ole Miss, who I thought was first-round worthy as an offensive tackle. So I think at the very base level, they've made improvements to that O-line to protect Cam Newton and to continue to be a balanced offense, so that's good. So I like that aspect of their football team, and I expect Cam Newton to be more protected this year than maybe we've seen in years past.
But ultimately, he's got to protect himself.
He does,
we say
right.
this about all the quarterbacks with a history of getting injured, and especially when just a couple of weeks ago, as Cam Newton was turning 30, he said he's too old to change his playing style. Well, if you don't change your playing style, you're going to continue to have these off-season shoulder surgeries, ankle surgeries, because even though he is an incredibly impressive physical specimen, it's still the same bones and muscles and ligaments and tendons that everyone else has, and you will get injured the more hits you take from NFL caliber defensive players, no matter how big you are. It's one of the reasons why he doesn't draw as many flags. Remember that was a thing a few years ago?
Definitely.
He doesn't get flagged for when he's hit by defensive players. He doesn't get the roughing the passer penalty called for him. He looks indestructible.
Right.
And it looks like guys bounce off of him. Well, the reality is they don't, and that's going to be the key. And use Christian McCaffrey. I said when they drafted him 2 years ago, if you're going to make this guy the 8th overall pick, Chris, you better use him. And they used him last year, and I think they even have more in store for Christian McCaffrey this year. And he can really come into his own and be a guy that takes a lot of heat off of Cam Newton and helps loosen up the passing game in Carolina.
Yeah, no question. He's got a special skill set. I mean, run game, pass game, and he's more of a bell cow running back than maybe we all give him credit for as far as running between the tackles. Does a good job of not getting, crushed in those car crash type hits. He showed he's durable and he can, last the long haul of the NFL season. So, continue to get plays and give Christian McCaffrey the ball. DJ Moore, their first-round pick from the 2018 draft. He had some phenomenal moments last year. He's a special specimen. Can he continue to grow into being a complete wide receiver? Second-round pick from 3 drafts ago in the 2017 draft, Curtis Samuel. He's a guy that's battled injury at the wide receiver position. They need those young guys to really show themselves this year. They can't just be, this week they're great, then we don't hear from them for 2 weeks. They got to be consistent part of the offense week in and week out. I look at that. And, going back to what you said about Cam Newton, too, about adjusting his style of play. I agree with you. One of the things I'll say about Cam Newton, too, ultimately he hurt his shoulder in the pocket last year, standing there too long. And I would say that was one thing I would say was a problem for Cam Newton throughout his career. Last year, I actually saw improvements with it. With Norv Turner, I think, got in his brain, hey, you don't always have to look for the big play down the field. It's okay to throw the short pass every now and then, get it out of your hand. And I think Cam Newton was going in the right direction with that last year, but still has to be careful about just standing in the pocket all day long thinking he can take hits and never be affected by it.
from 6-2 all the way to 7-9 last year. They really did fall apart. There were questions about whether or not Ron Rivera would be back. I think David Tepper, the owner of that team who just celebrated the one-year anniversary as the owner of the team, did the right thing, did the smart thing. Rivera has been a coach of the year. Rivera has taken the team to a Super Bowl, and I think he's a very stabilizing presence, a very calming influence that keeps that team focused. He tried his damnedest after that blowout on a Thursday night in Pittsburgh to keep the team focused. It just wasn't to be. And as Cam Newton had more and more trouble throwing the ball down the field, Chris, that's when it became conspicuous. Right. I mean, look, we talk about this all the time with the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes can throw the ball anywhere. So what does that mean? You have to defend the whole field. If the quarterback can't throw the ball deep, you can put all 11 guys into a 30-yard window, and it makes it a hell of a lot harder to move the ball on a consistent basis when you don't stretch out the defense and open things up underneath.
Yeah, no, I agreed with that. And that's why, with Cam Newton's style of play and the shoulder injury, I do worry about the backup quarterback situation in Carolina. At least when they had Derek Anderson, he could run the down the field, aggressive, big arm plays that Cam Newton can. I don't know if there's anybody on the roster in Carolina that can do that now, let alone they lose all the movement stuff they do with Cam Newton with the group of backup quarterbacks they have, because they're not movement type of guys, whether it's fake the speed sweeps or the read option or the quarterback design run. So their offense has to change with their backup quarterback. There's no doubt about that. So that's a little concerning. Other thing we do have to hit on, Mike, getting Brian Burns in the first round, the DN for Carolina out of Florida State. Phenomenal athlete. That was one issue, if I had to say, with the Carolina Panthers over the last year or two. I'd look at their team and go, other than Luke Kuechly, okay, you got Kawan Short at defensive tackle, who needs to pick up his game. He did not have a great last year, and he's being paid like one of the best D tackles in football. And he was a little underwhelming this year, or last year, I should say. So I expect him to be back, but they didn't have a difference maker that come off the edge and really create havoc. And I'm hoping that Brian Burns can be that guy for them. Phenomenal freak athlete who's a speed rusher off the edge, and they've needed that in Carolina.
And they're going to need leaders on defense this year. With Thomas Davis gone, Julius Peppers retired. You need somebody to be the heart and soul of that defense. And who knows? Maybe we're going to see the pendulum swing a little bit toward the offense this year. I'm amazed by Christian McCaffrey's stats, and I think of one of the guys that we could peg as potentially ready to climb to superstar status this year.
Yep.
You look at what McCaffrey did last season. He went from 197 touches as a rookie to 326 in 2018. He averaged 5 yards per carry, over 1,000 yards rushing, 867 yards receiving, almost 2,000 yards from scrimmage. And it's almost like we didn't notice.
I know.
Right? We'd noticed great performances, but there wasn't that week to week, Christian McCaffrey is one of the best running backs in football. Hey, folks, Christian McCaffrey is one of the best running backs in football, and this could be the year that he flat out explodes. So get ready for it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we saw the evidence last year that it's moving in that direction. And if he improves this year like he did last year, this guy could be potentially in, I don't want to say MVP conversation because we know that's a quarterback award, but this guy could end up being in Offensive Player of the Year conversation.
I hear that, and to add to what you said, yes, he's a phenomenal football player. And like I said a few minutes ago, I was surprised that he could take the wear and tear and the bell cow type, carries between the tackles. And to your point, I think we can further along his statistical prowess this year and everything that, we talk about for being Offensive Player of the Year. If Cam Newton's shoulder is healthy and they can actually throw the ball down the field to where they back defenses off, and a Curtis Samuel and a DJ Moore do start to assert themselves at wide receiver, and now secondaries have to go, whoa, we have to worry about this aspect of their offense too. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey can kind of at least hide a little bit, or they can't always game plan just for him. And let alone if Greg Olsen can stay healthy down the middle. There's plenty here for this Carolina team to be a playoff football team and really be, a major player in the NFC when I look at it, at least on paper, at this point of the year.
Hey, Chris, and Christian McCaffrey can't hide in the gym. We've all seen that photo of him. My goodness, Christian McCaffrey. That when you rip the sleeves off the hoodie, all the way up past the deltoids.
Yeah, that's usually right.
That's why his shoulder's fine. We have doubts about Cam Newton's shoulder. I think Christian McCaffrey's shoulders are just fine. So it tells me he's putting on that extra coat of armor. He understands what's going to be needed for him to take the next step. You can't be slight of build and be an effective running back in the NFL, and there's nothing slight of build about Christian McCaffrey. So what do we expect out of the Panthers this year, Chris? Is this a team that could win the NFC South?
I do think potentially they are a team that can win the NFC South. If you made me pick right now, okay, no, I don't think they're going to be NFC South champions. I think if you made me peg where Carolina ends up, I'm going to say they make the playoffs this year. I will say that. I think they're a 10-6 type of football team who has capabilities, if healthy, to make a run in the NFC because of their defense and the style of play with Cam Newton on offense.
Yeah, Vegas has the over-under win total for the Carolina Panthers at 8. So those of you who are in a jurisdiction where that sort of activity is legal, I think our advice would be take the over for the Carolina Panthers this year. And I just think that, every year there's a team that catches fire early and holds it the whole year. And it was the Panthers 3 years ago.
Right.
And we know that Cam Newton's got the skill to do it. And Christian McCaffrey, all due respect to the running backs at the time, Christian McCaffrey is better than any running backs they've had since Ron Rivera's been the head coach. Mm-hmm. They could be that team that did start your rack. Think of that week. You got the Rams coming cross country to start the season, and then a short week game against the Buccaneers. If the Panthers can build some momentum and some confidence, and if Newton is healthy, they could roll through this schedule. This is not a daunting slate of games outside of the division, especially since they get the Rams at home to start the season. The Panthers are very tough to beat at home. This is a team that's got the Patriots number, for crying out loud.
Exactly.
So I think the Panthers, let's not sleep on the Carolina Panthers, folks. They may have something up their sleeves for all of us, or not sleeves if it's Christian McCaffrey's hoodie.
You pick them to go NFC South champs? Like, I got to formulate how I think the NFC South is going to go out. I still don't know there. It's such a good division. It's so competitive. I don't know.
Now,
yeah, what do you got?
Right now, yes. I think I think it's going to be very hard for the Saints to sustain after two very heartbreaking postseason exits and signs that Drew Brees is starting down that inevitable slide to not being a franchise quarterback any longer. I think if Newton's the big concern. He hasn't thrown yet, Chris. At least last year, Andrew Luck was throwing the high school football in late May and early June. Newton hasn't thrown, and I feel like that question is going to continue to hover over the team until he does throw and until he takes some hits and gets up and is able to keep throwing.
Yeah, agreed. We got to see that. That's one of the things that we all are going to feel a lot more comfortable about the status of the Carolina Panthers once we see Cam Newton throwing a ball in training camp.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.